everyone, welcome to the HJ Global News Channel Go Weekly News Summary. After presenting the hopeful vision of a unified Heavenly Korea and successfully celebrating the blessing in South Africa and the 2019 Africa Summit, Chumada headed the United States to preside over the Heavenly United States Unity Festival. This week we have news of what is happening in Sub-Region 4, around the activities of the ACSC and a selection of the news we received from the global mission field.
The dawn of a new millennium. The interreligious movement initiated by True Parents resulted in the creation of the American Clergy Leadership Conference on May 22, 2000. The following year, True Parents toured all the 50 states in the United States, urging leaders of various religions to establish a spiritual foundation in the United States and take a leading role in the establishment of world peace.
세계 만민이 같은 하나님의 핏줄에 통하였으니 이걸 알고 더럽힐 수 없다는 걸 알아야 돼.
Close to 20 years later, the American Clergy Leadership Conference has become the pillar of the providence in the heavenly United States, working to realize the dream of one human family under God. In collaboration with the Family Federation in the United States, they have contributed to the success of the Rallies of Hope in Sub-Region 1 and 5, raising the FFWPU flag high up in the Christian sphere as part of the work to accomplish Vision 2020.
창조주 하늘 부모님께서 이 지상을 내려다보실 때 이 기가 휘날리고 있는 곳에 먼저 눈이 갈까요? 안 갈까요? 이 플래그가 세워진 교회마다 우리의 창조주 하늘 부모님께서는 여기에 내 사랑하는 자녀들이 있구나 하면서 더 큰 복을 내려주실 것입니다. 하늘 부모님의 사랑을 받는 인류 한 가족의 꿈을 이룰 수 있는 것입니다. 여러분 사랑하세요.
This June 21st in Las Vegas, our True Mother will take part in the American Clergy Leadership Conference, and the next day she will participate in the Unity Festival. True Parents have opened the International Center for Peace Education in Las Vegas, the modern-day Sodom and Gomorrah, and are now seeking to find virtuous people that can help expand the territory and sovereignty of goodness. Building on this foundation, UPF, the Women's Federation, ACLC, and YSB organized several breakfast meetings and banquets that were attended by many local religious leaders, thus spreading the hopeful vision of the Kingdom of Channel-Guk. On June 22nd, amidst the enthusiasm of 10,000 faithful Christians, Las Vegas will be made holy by a blessing that harbors hope for a peaceful world. We hope that you will receive many blessings on this day and that you will become blessed families who will spread the Hyojong culture throughout the world. There was a beautiful blessing ceremony in the Kampong Speu province of Cambodia. Around 500 couples were blessed this time in an event supported by the vice governor of the province, who had participated in an Asian leadership conference. He had promised to help create true families and spread the grace of the blessing to their communities. The Republic of Congo held a 70-day special condition for the victory of Vision 2020. 110 new couples were blessed during 2 blessing ceremonies. Thanks to their efforts in the Heavenly Tribal Messiah, 4 new families were proclaimed victorious in DR Congo through the blessing movement. True Families' values are expanding throughout the country. In this commemorative year of the 100th anniversary of the March 1st independence movement and the Korean Provisional Government, Sub-Region 4 of Korea held several rallies of hope, which were attended by citizens and leaders from various sectors of society. The rallies began on May 22nd on the island of Komodo and continued in 3 other areas of Sub-Region 4, including Seokbipo, Yeoksu, Iksan, and the theme was to open the era of the unified Heavenly Korea through the True Family movement and the unification of the Korean Peninsula. Political leaders and local personalities expressed their support for the organization of these events through their messages. Through these rallies, they were able to realize the value of the cosmic blessing of true parents, the importance of True Family movement, and the ideal of peace reinforced by the reunification of the Korean Peninsula. And most importantly, they pledged to further engage the activities of the Family Federation. On the other hand, speeches, talks on important themes, and Hyojong speeches also revealed that low birth rate, demographic problems, social conflicts, and how the nation crisis can be addressed by True Family movement, emphasizing that true parents are the mentors at the center of these movements. In the run-up to Vision 2020, large-scale rallies to promote national restoration continue to take place. To that effect, leaders and members of Sub-Region 4 promised to intensify their efforts to achieve victory through home church and the establishment of such rallies. In the Western District of Tokyo, the 33rd DP Revival meeting was held. Guests from Sosa riding events, from door-to-door witnessing, and home visits came to West Tokyo to participate in this gathering. Both new and regular members are trained through a 6-month course of Divine Principle lectures. The 33rd Revival was attended by 10 VIP guests, including a provincial legislator and 65 new members. They all shared together the new truth of the providence. In Thailand, the national chapter of the Interreligious Association for Peace and Development was inaugurated. In 2011, the Interreligious Federation for Peace was formed in Thailand. Now, under a new name, it will share the role and vision of religion within the framework of family values promoted by the Blessing Movement. On this day, 100 representatives from different religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, and Sikhism attended the event. They expressed their admiration for true parents' devotion in creating a world peace, transcending cultures, religions, and borders. They all centered on the concept of one family under God. The representative leaders gladly blessed the launch of the IAPD in Thailand. The national chapter of IAPD was also inaugurated in the Philippines. For the event, over 100 leaders from 5 Asian countries, including former Palau President Honorable Johnson Toribio, came to and expressed their support for the peace initiatives and True Family movement led by our true parents. Prior to the event, there was a 3-day leadership conference, and in one of the sessions, the national chapter of IAPD was launched. The IAPD ambassadors for peace and blessed families will do their best to fulfill their mission and do the blessing on a national level. UPF Canada hosted an appreciation luncheon for Korean War veterans to commemorate the 69th anniversary of the Korean War. 100 guests, including the Vice Secretary General of the Korean Community Leaders, attended this event sponsored by the Korean Cultural Association and the Korean War Veterans Association. UPF conveyed that Korea does not forget them and presented them with peace initiatives. In Malaysia, a Sonak workshop of Hyojong culture was conducted in order to witness to more young people. During the 4-day workshop, newcomers and second generations were able to experience the Hyojong culture. Around 80 Songhua students attended, and the students and new guests discussed on various outreach and volunteer service programs. Among other things, the new guests were touched by the new culture they were experiencing and shared that it is not easy to find this kind of culture in the world. Some parents who came to the program asked the group to educate and take care of their children. The Youth Tribal Messiah activities is very passionate in Brazil and is already bearing fruit in the first Hyojong festival organized by YSP. The hall was filled to capacity by 250 members of blessed families and new guests who came out inspired by the friendliness and values of filial piety expressed on stage. The festival opens a new platform for witnessing. As part of its world tour to contribute to the spiritual awakening of members around the world, the H.J. Chonbo Center held a special seminar in the special sub-region of Taiwan. More than 100 new members and about 1,500 Taiwanese members in total attended the spiritual workshop, during which physical and spiritual ailments were cured. The power and experiences of spiritual work were also felt by over 400 members in Bolivia. Most of the families present experienced this spiritual work for the first time and all had a new perspective on the Chonbo Providence. There, they determined to fulfill their tribal Messiah mission of liberating and blessing the physical and spiritual world. At Chonbokgung, 650 people attended the launching ceremony of missionaries in Korea. On the same day, Reverend Lee Gi-sung appointed 18 people from the 5 sub-regions, including the President of the Association of Multicultural Families, Mrs. Kim Soo-yeon, as official representatives of the missionary wives. They subsequently all reaffirmed their willingness to commit themselves to the success of the blessing. After words of encouragement, Reverend Ju Jin-tae, Director of Sub-Region 1, also pledged to give the best of himself in order to bring more candidates on board for the blessing. With the cries of Okmanse, the participants all expressed their firm desire to achieve Vision 2020 by becoming the key players in the restoration of the country as a whole.
We are glimpsing the hope of a heavenly world, Chanilguk, a world in which we live with God. Peace TV is broadcasting live from Las Vegas, the ACSC Special Assembly and the Heavenly US Peace Starts With Me Unity Festival, which you can see on our website or through links on Facebook, KakaoTalk and cell phone application. This is all we have for today. Thank you for joining us and we wish you a good weekend.
Hello,
Hi, how are you?
and what's your name?
Mandy Harvey,
And who's this?
my interpreter.
What's your name?
Sarah.
Nice to meet you, Sarah.
Nice to meet
How
you,
are
sir.
Hi, Sarah.
Doing well, thank you. Hello.
Okay, Mandy, so I think I've worked this out. So you're deaf?
Yes, I lost all my hearing when I
Hallo zusammen, guten Morgen. Heute haben wir ja 2 ganz junge Gottesdienstteilnehmer hier vorne sitzen. Ja, herzlich willkommen nochmal. Wir haben ja heute den 2. Teil des Workshops mit Philip Hill aus England. Die Beziehung, überschrieben ist ja die Beziehung zwischen geistiger Welt und physischer Welt. Wir hatten gestern schon ähnlich viele Geschwister hier. Manche sind jetzt wieder da, manche sind jetzt zum ersten Mal da. Und seine Speech wird also sein zweiter Teil seines Workshops wird also der integrale Part in unserem Gottesdienst sein. So singen wir zuerst. Ja, wir könnten If I Were Free, genau, singen wir zuerst und dann beten wir und dann machen wir Hand okay und dann würde ich gleich dem Philipp das Wort übergeben und wer dann noch eine persönliche Scanning haben möchte, das ist also dann nach dem Gottesdienst gleich möglich. Ja? Nicht erst nach dem Mittagessen, sondern gleich nach dem Gottesdienst im Happy-Raum. Ja? Okay, das wird dann der Philipp nochmal dann erzählen. Okay, singen wir If I Were Free.
Okay, a cappella. If I were free to speak my mind, I'd tell a tale to all mankind of how the flowers do bloom and fade, of how we fought and how we gained. This very world has had its fill of words of war on every hill. The time has come for peaceful days, for peaceful men and peaceful ways. When all mankind has ceased to fight, I raise my head in thanks each night for this great love and all it means, for golden days and peaceful dreams. If I were free to speak my mind, I'd tell a tale to all mankind of how the flowers do bloom and fade, of how we fought and how we gained. Okay, lasst uns aufstehen und unsere himmlischen Eltern und die wahren Eltern begrüßen. Chunji, Pumonimke, Kyombe. Pardon. So lasst uns zusammen beten. Liebe himmlische Eltern, wir sind dankbar, dass wir hier zusammenkommen können. In deinem Namen, in deinem Haus. Vater, uns verbindet die Liebe zu dir, zu den wahren Eltern. Uns verbindet die Liebe untereinander als Brüder und Schwestern. Wir können fühlen, dass wir eine Familie sind. Und dieses Wochenende haben wir einen besonderen Gast. Philipp Hill ist hier, der uns mehr erklärt über deine ewige geistige Welt und ganz besonders über die Beziehung in unserem physischen Leben, über deine Schöpfung, wie du alles so wunderbar gemacht hast, sodass wir schließlich ewig in deiner Liebe zusammen wohnen können. Vater, das gibt uns neue Perspektiven für unser Leben hier und zu verstehen, wie du deine Schöpfung gemacht hast und wie du uns geschaffen hast als ewige Wesen in deinem Bereich. Vater, wir möchten uns darauf vorbereiten und wir möchten also auf unser ewiges Leben und wir möchten uns vorbereiten auf die Worte, die wir jetzt gleich hören werden, dass wir mit einem offenen Herzen alles aufnehmen können. Wir danken dir und beten um deine Gegenwart im Namen unserer gesegneten zentralen Familien. Aju. So, bitte setzen.
Zum Hondoke möchte ich eine Stelle aus Vaters Autobiografie vorlesen. Wie ihr vielleicht mitbekommen habt, gibt es momentan in Berlin eine große Konferenz anlässlich des 30-jährigen Falls der Berliner Mauer und der Wiedervereinigung Deutschlands. Ja, 30 Jahre Fall der Berliner Mauer und da sind koreanische Offizielle dort und der Botschafter von Korea ist dort, weil diese Feier soll einerseits dieser deutschen Wiedervereinigung gedenken, andererseits aber die Wiedervereinigung Koreas unterstützen. Und da möchte ich jetzt etwas vorlesen aus Vaters Autobiografie. Moment. Ich kann nichts mehr lesen ohne Brille. Und zwar ist es das Kapitel Liebe führt zu Vereinigung. Und die Überschrift dieses Abschnittes ist, die Vereinigung Koreas wird die Vereinigung der Welt zur Folge haben. Als ich nach meinem Treffen mit Herrn Gorbatschow, den Kreml verließ, wandte ich mich an Bohi Pak, der mich begleitet hatte, und gab ihm einen besonderen Auftrag. Ich muss Präsident Kim Il-sung noch vor Ende 91 treffen, sagte ich zu ihm. Es bleibt keine Zeit. Die Sowjetunion wird es in 1 oder 2 Jahren nicht mehr geben. Vater ist ein Visionär gewesen. Unser Land ist jetzt das Problem. Irgendwie muss sich Präsident Kim treffen und einen Krieg auf der koreanischen Halbinsel verhindern. Ich wusste, dass die meisten kommunistischen Regime auf der Welt fallen würden, wenn die Sowjetunion zusammenbricht. Nordkorea würde sich in die Ecke gedrängt fühlen und niemand konnte sagen, zu welcher Provokation es sich hinreißen lassen würde. Die nordkoreanische Fixierung auf Kernwaffen machte die Situation noch besorgniserregender. Um einen Krieg mit Nordkorea zu verhindern, mussten wir einen Kanal finden, durch den wir mit der nordkoreanischen Führerschaft sprechen konnten, aber wir hatten zu diesem Zeitpunkt keinen solchen Kanal. Irgendwie musste ich es schaffen, Präsident Kim zu treffen und ihm das Versprechen abzuringen, dass er nicht zu einem Erstschlag auf Südkorea ausholen würde. Die koreanische Halbinsel ist ein Mikrokosmos der Welt. Wenn auf der koreanischen Halbinsel Blut vergossen wird, dann wird das auch auf der Welt geschehen. Wenn es Versöhnung auf der Halbinsel gibt, dann gibt es auch Versöhnung auf der ganzen Welt. Wenn die Halbinsel wieder vereinigt wird, dann wird das die Vereinigung der Welt nach sich ziehen. Seit den späten 1980er Jahren arbeitete Nordkorea jedoch intensiv daran, ein Land zu werden, das Atomwaffen besitzt. Die Länder der westlichen Welt sagten, sie würden Nordkorea zuerst angreifen, wenn es notwendig sein sollte. Wenn sich diese Situation weiterhin zuspitzt, dann kann man unmöglich vorhersagen, zu welcher Verzweiflungstat Nordkorea fähig wäre. Ich wusste, dass ich irgendwie einen Kanal für einen Dialog mit Nordkorea öffnen musste. Soweit aus Vaters Biografie, Seite 288. Also Korea ist ein Mikrokosmos der Welt. Also wir müssen Korea unterstützen, dass es bald sich wieder vereinigen kann. Und jetzt übergebe ich das Wort an Philipp. Und ab jetzt wird alles in englischer Sprache sein. Okay, Philipp, let us welcome Philipp.
Oh, hello. Just got to change modes. Just one moment. Just got to change a battery, it's gone flat. Is it AA? You got all these things in his you can always swap back out. This is not a continuation of yesterday. I better give you your state. Let's all trip over. I wondered what it was. Yeah. it's not a continuation of yesterday, but it is spiritually connected. All right, so this is an experimental talk. I did the first one in Nuremberg last Saturday. I've never really spoke about this topic before, and when I said to Hortensia, who was in Nuremberg, that I would talk about this, she said, "Oh my gosh, a revolution may begin," you know? And I'm actually going to talk about food, believe it or not. And I feel that this is my understanding, my experiences of the time we're living in now. It's a special time, as we all know. And there's certain discoveries now with types of food that are able to literally heal different problems. Yeah? Before I do that, though, I just want to reflect on a few observations which are not related to food, but this is the main part of the talk. I'll try and get there. So what I'll do is I'll put up on the screen is mainly written information. So if anybody is interested, they can either take a little photo or so on, and then go into it in a way to research. But this you don't need to take a photo. This was very similar to the talk that we just saw, yeah, from the different regions and so on. So let me see if we can begin this. So these are my observations in the historic time of chaos and confusion, and the influence they can have on you if you're not prepared for them. Because the Foundation Day was created and fulfilled by True Father and all of us helping, he opened the gates to allow all the very high level spirit world to come down, blessed ancestors to also blend very easily with us, but also really negative and very resentful spirits all come down at the same time. And this is the reason why there's a big push for the liberation and blessing, because it acts as a curtain, like a wall that comes around each one of us here, because it's getting more and more crazy out there in the world. Maybe not just from what you can see, but the government, from a government point of view, many things are going very, very difficult. Let me just see if I can. That's fun. Also, number one, there's basically 7 points I was just very interested in. True parents and their gender value. Now, gender value. This is quite an important thing to really understand, because we're living in this time, as I said, of confusion and chaos, where universities and different government bodies are trying to get rid of gender. They're actually trying to destroy it. It's can cause incredible confusion, not for first generations, because we're a bit more wiser, but second gen and third gen can be very mucked up about this. We got to realize that always in the history there's only been single people as messiahs, and now it's a couple. So we have to understand that True Father is totally masculine. He's very aggressive, he's very loving, but he's very, determined. And we have to recognize this because, and also True Mother, very loving, very caring. Because in schools, they're trying to teach children of the age of 4 upwards that you can be anything if you want to. You can be a boy in the morning, girl in the afternoon. They also talk about you have your parents, father, mother, but there are other things. And people are impressionable, especially that age, going up. And we, as the parents, we have to be very aware that this is not right. So we have to just be aware not to fall into the trap. Many second gen get drawn into drinking and different things, but also in usually universities they have these campuses and they're very coordinated groups that try to bring you into that particular group when you enter universities. And we just have to be very, very aware. Of course, nobody here really is second gen, so, we got two couple there. Yeah. So it's just to be aware of how that is really becoming a problem. And so second gen have to be the parents for their children, so the man has to really be the man, right? So a good role model for the boys, and same with the second gen wife for the daughters. Yeah, the LGBTQ rights, we all know what that is, right? Yeah, that's the lesbian, bisexual, gay, transgender, queer rights. Did you know that there was about 72 genders now? Unbelievable. Yeah, 33 which you can basically kind of understand, but not really understand. But teachers are being told, and university scholars are told they have to attend sessions to understand the differences between all these things. If they don't pass these tests, they can be suspended. Yeah, and so it's becoming really ridiculous. Now, this is, it propagates the erosion of our general lifestyle, and the problem is that it's taking hold. This isn't theory or anymore. There are laws in Canada, in America, and they're spreading around the world, where you can't call somebody him or her or Mr. and Mrs. You have to call them by their gender. And if you don't, you can have a fine. And I don't want this to spread, you know, where it is really crazy. Unless you study this or have a look on the YouTube to find what this is all about, you would never understand what I'm talking about if you don't know about it. It's unbelievable. But it's taking hold. This isn't, as I said, theory. We have to just be aware of it, because there's a very minority of people, but are very strong, and they're being supported by the government. So the third is third wave feminism. First wave and second waves were quite good, because always through history, women have been the underdog, and now there's equality. But the third wave feminism is causing a global problem. They're trying to actually remove masculinity. Can you believe that? They're actually, they believe it's like a bit of a disease, the masculine character. And so when boys come into schools, the majority are female teachers. And there's so many, I think is about 60 or 70% in schools now are female teachers, and they cannot relate to the young boys, so they put them straight on to medication, ADHD medication for irritable syndrome, but they're just normal boys, right? Everybody knows what boys are like, right? And so they're trying to change their demeanor, their character, to be more feminine, because they feel it's easier to cope with everything. Now, this is really happening. This is why I'm talking about it in such a, is connected to the spirit world in the last days we're living in now. And number four is, have you ever heard of this organization that's spreading quite strongly of men actually going their own way, right? They're not getting involved with society and relationships. They've had enough, because everything is against the man. If there would be some form of relationship and marriage and they get a divorce, the wife gets everything, gets the house, the children, everything. It's very difficult. And so the man actually loses everything. So what's happening now is, because of people out of work so much, you know, the robots taking many jobs, men don't have so much say in society, so they're not participating. And I think in America, in Canada, in Britain, there's a very, very high number, over 60% of men not really wanting to work or look for relationships at all, not interested, right? Also, because women now can work and they can get good jobs, they actually make more money than men. So men are more and more pushed down. I'm not protecting men, all right, but there is no balance here, and men are dropping out. They're not bothering to do anything. And in Japan, we know all about Japan. There's a society there where there's a huge number of young men between like 25 and 35. They just stay at home. They don't really get a job. They don't want to get married. They don't want to do anything. It's kind of spreading all around the globe. This is why in Germany, France, Italy, and many other of these countries, the birth rate is very, very low, and it's dropping straight down. This is a serious problem because of the relationship. The intensity is so great that they don't want to get involved. So also the Me Too movement, we all know about that one, from America, from Hollywood and all these other things. Their goal is to cause fear between men and women, and the erosion, breakdown, civil relationships between people. Since those events happened, employers are not mentoring women anymore. And so women are not getting jobs. People that work in factories where there's mixed women and men, men don't approach or even say anything to women. It's spreading. And because if you would say, oh, you look nice today, that could be classed as rape, or is totally extreme. Yeah. And so men are shying away from anything. And there may even be segregation soon between. Now, this isn't normal, all right? But this is how it's going. Number 6 is there's a small group that's gaining momentum in America, and it's called birth strike. Women and couples aren't having any children because of the threat of global warming. They're actually deciding not to do it because the society is so chaotic and they don't feel any hope or future. Yeah. And in Australia, they had about 4 scientists that gave their true opinion. This was only over the last year. And they say they won't stay in one of these cities. I think it was either very like Toronto, a proper city. They would have to move because it would be too hot to live there. And so many are changing where they live because it's just unbearable in the future. Each year so far, each year's got hotter and hotter and hotter. And because of the thermal, the ice cap melting, the thermofrost is threatening to speed up warming. And it's really very strong in different areas. Let's just hope we can manage to survive. But birth strike is a problem. People just don't see hope. And so male fertility has dropped 50% over the last century just due to toxins and environments. Just be aware of what food we're eating. Well, I'm going to probably go on to that soon. Kind of food we eat. So let's have a look. These were just things to be aware of, you know, because you will be affected, whether you like it or not. You will be affected. And if you know of any second gen or young people, try to make them aware. We have to be very aware what's going on. I mean, we're trying to be the rock. After I speak about the diet, I'll just finalize with something else here, which talks a little bit about being the solid power, which everyone can kind of relate to from the principle point of view. So what I've learned about diet, So what I've learned about diet, that I know, I use it myself now, so it's a way that I can, in a way, prove that what I'm saying works for me. It doesn't necessarily maybe work for everyone, and everyone will have to, if they're interested, to try to investigate. I have enough information up here. But basically, many of our ancestors, hundreds of generations ago, ate food from the animal kingdom, such as all kinds of meat, eggs, and dairy. And this was all they could find. In certain areas, there was fruit and vegetable, but were seasonal and limited. So many of us inherited the DNA from them that relate to eating meat and fat. Now, this is quite revolutionary because science always assumes that when you eat meat exclusively and fat, that you will get cancers, right? And it's not been tested, though. There's no science to prove that. And so eating different carbohydrates, such as vegetables, grains, and man-made confectionery from this century. Yes. Yeah. From this century, all turn to glucose. It all turns to glucose in the body, which is the main source of so many sicknesses found in not just the body, the mind and spirit, how the spirit is affected by the mind. So the mind and body, which is greatly influencing the spirits. These glucose food affect the spirit and do not resonate well with how many of our ancestors lived and survived on different meat and fat-based diets. By adopting this way of eating will allow those particular ancestors to easily blend into your spirit easier and begin to heal and help the healing process of your mind, body, and spirit as you begin to harmonize with them. Now, the reason I focus on this particular way of eating is because the next slide will probably give some idea of what kind of sicknesses it can help and actually heal. These are usually ones that there is no diagnosis for, or they haven't been experimented on with a person who has that particular sickness to see if it works for that. But I'm quite open spiritually, you know, sometimes more than other times. But I take on a lot of pressure. And basically, if I'm going into someone's spirit to discover something about them, I may take on all of the hell they're going through. And many times I've been in situations where I've done several readings, one after another. I went to a certain place, and the whole congregation would come, and I would have 40 minutes to go in and find out everything, then 10-minute break, then another 40 minutes, 10-minute break. And I've worked sometimes right through the nighttime doing this. And it really, it can destroy you, I know. So I wanted something that could protect myself, my spirit, and remove or neutralize this spiritual attack. So I'm very aware that eating this way my mood completely changed, you know, completely balanced, very, very different. So I'm living proof that it works for the mind. So I'm actually eating this way, not for my body, it's actually for my mind and spirit. And it really works. And this is the first, in a way, eating style or method that actually works like that. So I know that many members struggle. Many have bipolar, not here, but I know many that are struggling. Acute depressions. Let's just see.
Bipolar, bipolar, this is schizophrenia. Bipolar.
No, it's acute. Yeah, is very acute. People can be brought to suicide very easily under these stresses.
Wenn jemand ein Wort nicht versteht, soll sich bitte melden.
Yeah.
Kann sofort fragen oder, ja. I said if someone doesn't understand a word, please.
Yeah, yeah. I think you were the only one at the moment. Everybody else didn't do anything. They all seem to know. So, I could be wrong. So, this eating style is shown to help you improve your physical, mental, and spiritual health, including help and lessen or eliminate many of the problems below over time. So we have psychic imbalance, which is what I would say I have, because I can get really overwhelmed by spiritual things, and many do. Dementia. If anybody's starting to feel they're starting to forget or lose their memory a little, this method will help you regain your memory. There's Alzheimer's. This is quite a serious one. Well, dementia, they're very similar. But this also can cure or completely reduce Alzheimer's or dementia. Bipolar, we spoke about. Acute depression, epilepsy. It really stops people from going into these wild problems they have. Schizophrenia, this helps to reduce the impact of the mind from so on. Migraine headaches, if you've had these, it can get rid of that. Diabetes, I was diabetic, and within 3 months I got rid of it. So I'm living proof that it works. How it works for you is slightly different because we're all different. So you have to modify whatever you're listening to suit yourself. All right. Irritable bowel syndrome. Now that's where you get constipated or you're bloated or you get stomach trouble. It can remove that very quickly. Arthritis, Parkinson's disease. There's a good podcast that shows somebody that had Parkinson's disease for 20 years developing, and it's slowly in remission now. And he's being interviewed, and you can see how he was at the beginning and how he is now. And that's the same with all of the podcasts I will show you. It's from on the YouTube. All right, so you just open your YouTube channel and type in the particular things I will put up on the screen. There are hundreds more, but these are just the useful ones which you can start with. ADHD in children. Many children are very erratic, uncontrollable. Fertility problems. This is quite a fascinating problem. There was a doctor who is in charge of a fertility clinic, and he adopted this way of eating, and people were starting to get pregnant without even thinking, you know? Amazing, because they didn't have any cure. The doctors before didn't have any cure, and they would go there and find that they could manage. So it's that. And addiction problems too. Alcohol, drugs, even pornography, it can actually remove. It's fascinating. People have reported that suddenly they have no interest just by eating differently. And it's because the stomach and the brain is actually another brain. So you have two brains. The stomach is one and your brain is another one. And you change the microbiome in your stomach area here. So glucose is the main problem. We are adapted to eat two ways, glucose and fat. And how we should generally eat is actually fat, because it's sustaining, it's long term, and you don't run out of it if you're very kind of big. And you eat glucose or berries or fruits or vegetables, but not so much. It's just a quick fix to get you fat so that you can go through the winter, through the meat time. And then when you eat meat, it brings you spiritual balance and harmony. And then you begin to harmonize more with the ancestors. Many people find that they can eat very well carbohydrate. It's not for everybody, this diet, but usually you find very extreme people who have serious difficulties. They're completely out of synchronization with their ancestors. So we have the spirit now being revived with the truth and principle, but because this eating method, it wasn't tested by science. They just assumed it was really bad for everyone, and so they made a rule, nobody eat this or do it this way. And so it means that God has a chance. It means he can come in there. There's like a little hole in the nutritional area which he can come in because it hasn't been tested, you know? And I feel this is where now God can help completely cure or take away the illnesses that are not possibly able to be solved. And many people are experimenting on themselves. So if anybody here wanted to try it, you would be experimenting on yourself. If you would talk to your doctor about it, they would tell you not to do that. And so many had these kind of serious illnesses, and they said, well, what have I got to lose? I'm just going to do this anyway. And they start to get better. It's like they defy science. But you see, it's never been proven to be wrong, right? And the diet everybody is supposed to eat from a governmental point of view for the culture and the civilization here should be all carbohydrate. But it's causing obesity epidemic and diabetes and all these other sicknesses. So glucose is the main cause. So you take glucose out of the diet, and so that is leaving you really with meat, eggs, fish, and maybe not much else. All right? It's called an elimination diet. So you start with the root focus on meat and a few eggs, and then you add in later on when you start to feel any improvement. Yeah? So it's experiment. If you did it, you would probably feel something happening within the first week. Yeah, many people have suddenly became very clear mentally and spiritually, almost immediately within about 3 days by doing that. And you become spiritually calm, become spiritually calmer and able to cope with things. So your mentality changes and your brain can start to develop. See, when you have Alzheimer's, the glucose, you get starved. Your body can't digest enough glucose, so your brain starves and the brain starts to shrink, get smaller. And then people can't remember and they lose their ability to coordinate life. But when you eat fat, your brain is made of about 70% fat and cholesterol. And cholesterol has been known, the LDL, the cholesterol in the blood, like the fat, was known to be bad for you, right? So we all got to have low cholesterol. But, it's never been proven. It's just what doctors assume. You eat fat, is no good for you. But actually, it's been proven now. There was many tests done, not on the governmental level, but other levels, to show that if you have very high cholesterol, you live longer, right? And low, you die quicker. Because LDL cholesterol is actually a healer for your body. Your brain is made of LDL. And all of the cells in the body are made of this cholesterol. So it's interesting that the kind of diet doctors are supporting. They're supporting lowering your LDL and giving you more carbohydrate, right? So that increases your blood sugar, which means that you take insulin because you become insulin resistant, and then when it comes down, you're supposed to eat sugar again. It's like a yo-yo. And that's why they say it's one of these deteriorating diseases. But if you don't eat glucose, you don't use any insulin, yeah, in your body. And so my blood levels are very low. They're about 2 point something. But I don't have a problem because I'm not burning any sugar. And that allows the body to start healing. It's the sugar that's corrupting the whole system and causing all of these problems. So, yeah, it's basically you would look for ketogenic or carnivore diet, as it can produce different health benefits which can be easily modified. You modify the diet to suit yourself. Coconut oil is quite amazing stuff. People that have had started dementia or maybe different other problems, it starts to go and feed the brain. And when you eat fat, and it switches off a mechanism in your brain called ghrelin, and that's the hunger mechanism. When you eat fat, you're not hungry. It's fascinating. I'm always amazed, you know, because normally if you eat carbohydrate, within an hour, 2, 3, you start feel hungry again. Even if you eat a lot of food, after about 2, 3 hours, you start to feel hungry. If you eat a lot of meat and a lot of eggs, you only need 1 meal a day with no hunger at all. And so you naturally start losing weight. So it's not a weight diet, but people have lost incredible amount of weight, but you're not starving. You're actually full. The secret is to eat until you're really full, which is a great way of eating, really, and lose weight at the same time. Yeah, it really, really does work. And I'm not trying to give you my, you don't have to believe me. I'm going to put up some podcasts for you to experiment and watch and learn. And these are many, many hundreds of people's life experiences of understanding how this works and how they've lost incredible amount of weight, but also improved their mental state. Many are on medication, acute medications, also for all the different sicknesses I explained, and now they're off of their medication. Incredible, you know, and mental illness is beginning to find a new thing for it. And all of these foods are things you already eat already. It's just you're combining it with the wrong things. That's all. So there's nothing to buy specials, no vitamins, no minerals, just basic food. So this is one of a very good one to start with. Is a person called Michaela Peterson on YouTube. If you write in that and ask for a ketogenic carnivore diet, she almost was sick from head to toe with so many things, and now she's totally removed all the different sicknesses. Jordan Peterson, he's a lecturer, he's a university professor. He had chronic depression all his life and couldn't get out of bed. Now eating that way, he jumps out of bed, no problem anymore. So I'm only saying because many of our people in our movement in Britain, many are on medication, especially second gen, believe it or not. Many have bipolar, many have acute depressions, mental problems. We can get overwhelmed by anxiety attacks. If you know of any families that have children which are uncontrollable, this is very good for them to know. I know a few families where they have problems with their children, so I put this to them so they're investigating, because you can adopt it for your children, this eating style, and it slows them down, it calms them down. And it's fascinating, fascinating stuff. So YouTube podcast explained about the value and potential of this eating style. There are also a few testimonies as you scroll down from people who struggle with depression and migraines that have benefited and completely changed their life through adopting this eating style. If you know of anyone, first or second gen, that may be struggling with any of the above, plus body weight problems, please recommend this method, as it has been proven to be very successful. It's amazing. I only started thinking about this and doing it, experimenting with it, from February, and I've lost 12 kilo. Unbelievable. Not even exercising. Amazing. This is why my jumper's a little bit floppy. Yeah. So if you need to lose weight, if you don't need to lose weight, you just eat more, and then you will stabilize. That's all. You don't go back to eating the other way. This is something you eat like all your life, and it's lovely food. You know, you eat butter, lard, or schmaltz, is it? Lard? Schmaltz, coconut oil, and possibly olive oil. Yeah, the one. But you don't eat any of the other. All the other oils were created to lubricate engines in the 1920s, when they had the Industrial Revolution, and they needed to keep the engines going. They used seed oils to do that. And then somebody had the bright idea, maybe we can get, you know, our communities to eat it. Yeah? But it's actually not meant to be eaten. Is rubbish, actually. It's toxic stuff. And that's why also people are getting sick. So natural. You put your chicken in the oven there, all the fat runs out. You eat all the fat. You eat all the skin. You eat all the tasty parts, my God, and you make your gravy out of all the stuff. And this is why you feel great, you know? And if I come around with like donuts or biscuits and I offered it to everyone, you could eat, and then you could eat more, and then you could eat more. Same with bread. If you have bread, you know, you buy a nice bread. You think, smells fantastic. So you cut there and you cut a piece off, right? Eat it. Great. You put it away. And then you come back and cut another great big chunk off, because you don't feel full, you feel great. But in bread, there's an enzyme which is addictive. And so you can eat the whole loaf almost, and you still feel empty because you want to have lunch. That you're not satisfied, you see. And this is because it's all sugar. So your sugar goes right up, and sugar is toxic. You only have a spoon and a half, a teaspoon and a half in your whole bloodstream. And if you have like a banana, right, there's about 8 teaspoons of sugar in a banana. And also in bread, an incredible amount you would never believe, right? And so what does the body have to do? It has to quickly try and burn it quickly. So it goes for the sugar first, and then it has to store the rest in the fat cells. So the insulin is like a key to store that. The worst thing to eat is both together, fat and carbohydrate, because the sugar comes into your system, and that raises and opens the channel for the insulin, and then the fat that comes in your body through the burger, right? The actual meat in the burger. So you eat the bread as well as the burger, but the bread turns to sugar very quick. That opens the door, and all the fat you eat goes into your cells, right? So if you eat just the burger but not the bun, that's a very simple way of doing it. If you can eat all the different meats, everything, lamb, pork, beef, chicken, turkey, I don't know. I'm not a cook. I don't really know. But these are kind of delicious foods. and eggs, cheese. You can eat hard cheese. Just look for no carbohydrate in it. Usually also full fat cream. You know, full fat cream has no carbohydrate in it. But half fat is packed full of sugar. You know, you just have to recognize. Yeah. Or just normal is full of sugar. And it causes diabetes and all these other problems. So it's actually not a diet at all. When we talk about diet, we talk about restriction diets. So you're always hungry. You're always low fat, low sugar, and very high. Eat loads of vegetables, loads of salad. Yeah, but you're starving, aren't you? Actually, you're starving. You lose weight. You can lose weight, but you're thinking, my God, I got to get to my goal because I need food. So you get right down and you think, I've made my goal. So now I'll start eating normal and see if I can keep it. And straight away you go straight up again. But this way you enjoy the food. It's very filling. If I walked around with a plate of beef or pork, big chunks of pork, and I said, eat, have one, have another, and I come around and says, do you want another one? You say, oh, okay. Then I say, do you want another one? And you will say, my God, I can't eat anymore. I just cannot eat anymore. I'm absolutely full. And you will be full for the whole day. You won't want to eat in the evening because the density of all the vitamins and minerals in meat, especially pork, beef, and not so much chicken, is a bit low. But this is something for you to find out. But that is the healing power. When you eat eggs, it has a few vitamins and minerals which the meat does not have. And the same with butter. Butter is incredibly packed full. It's almost like a superfood. But we don't eat butter, we eat margarine, which is just plant-based. No good for you, right? Now, it's interesting that the recommended daily amount, everything that was recommended was calculated using a carbohydrate diet. So if you eat a meat diet or a fat diet, you don't need the same kind of carbohydrate, like the proteins and vitamins and minerals. You don't need the same type for the meat and fat diet. So many of the vitamins and minerals you have in your body are enough. Sorry, just need to take a drink. Sorry, my throat got a bit dry there. No, you use very different vitamins and minerals when you eat fat and meat diet, protein diet, than you would a carbohydrate diet. Like they say, there's not very much vitamin C in meat. But when you eat glucose, you know, like carbohydrate, the vitamin C fights for a place between the insulin and vitamin C, so there's a battle. But when you don't eat carbohydrate, there's no battle. So you use very, very little vitamin C. So you get everything what you need from that way of eating. And it can start healing everything. Maybe I've said everything about that. Yeah. These are just a few other podcasts, if you want to take a note of those. These show reports of the mind, the body, and many ones that have had incredible result. And when they go to their doctor, it's always so funny because they say, how can I tell my doctor I'm eating this way? Because you say, no, you can't eat that. Yeah? So they go in, they don't say anything, and they get tested. All their readings are absolutely perfect, you know, and they try not to tell them what they're doing, you know. And if a person did say, well, I'm eating meat now in fat, not very much vegetable, and which is absolutely opposite, because the original diet we had for the civilization here is the triangle diet. And the biggest amount you're supposed to eat is about 80% carbohydrate. Isn't that incredible? But it's not been proven. This is only because these big companies want to sell products. And it's easy. You see in Egypt, hundreds of years ago, the slaves ate the corn and bread, but the kings, they ate meat. So feed the population. And it's interesting, how do you fatten cattle to sell? You give them grain. You don't give them fat. It's fascinating. You know, if you give cattle fat, you know, they'd lose weight. Yeah, if you eat butter, you lose weight. Because what happens is, when you don't eat glucose, your body starts to find that there's fat in the body, which you've eaten, and so it starts to use that for energy. Right? The fat is used for energy. And then that's how your body switches from using glucose. It can't find glucose, so it panics, and then it starts to search for like the butter and the fat. So when you buy meat, buy it with a load of fat on. Yeah, if you get these pork chops with all the fat, you eat the lot. Fascinating. And it's fantastic. Everybody feels great, and you lose weight because the body starts to focus on the fat, and then when that fat's gone, it starts to eat your own fat. And that's why you don't notice yourself losing weight. You don't feel hungry, you see. And this is like a real birth of a new way of eating, which I feel God is bringing today. It's quite strange, you know, how this is kind of working, because it's not supported by any science. But because there's so many results that are really positive, there has to be a revolution of nutrition in eating fat and that way. So when you start losing weight, you always know that you're adapted to eating this way because you don't feel hungry at all. I mean, I can eat like now, and I won't eat maybe until the same time the next day. And I still don't feel hungry. I can actually go to the evening before I eat something. Yeah? So I'm just constantly, and you see, it gives the time for your body to go into autophagy. I don't know if you know the name of that. Autophagy is when you eat yourself. Your cells start to become recycled. And so this is where all the healing happens in the body. And that everything calms down, the mind, the physical body starts to change and become rejuvenated. And so it's because you're not eating. That's why you're changing everything. But you can't do that with a normal diet. If not, you could, but you're literally starving. And you're walking up and down wondering, my God, where's my meal? Where's my meal? All you're thinking about is food. And that's the recognized symptoms of somebody who's on a normal diet. You lose weight, but you can't sustain it. Whereas this way, if you eat all this kind of nice food, you can eat it all the time, believe me. So no problem. So, yeah, there's many more podcasts to listen to if you're interested. Don't listen to too many because it can drive you crazy, you know what I mean? Because everybody does. But just pick get the basic root thing, which is the ones I put up there, and then just test it. Try it for a month, right? It's not what you add to your meal, it's what you take away. So you don't need to buy anything. And if you are struggling with kind of stressful situations, maybe mental pressures, or your body's not able to cope or anything, try this diet and guarantee it will do something to you. All right? And if you do find it helpful, keep it. You can always change the little bit of food, just don't connect too much to carbohydrate. If you have success, you can always add a little bit of carbohydrate. Just follow what these people are doing on there, because they're also experimenting, but they're also explaining what problems they had, very serious problems, and how it improved their lives. Okay, so that ends that particular part. Oh yeah, I never thought of that. Yeah. Because as I said, and this is an experimental talk. This is quite unusual, but because I do readings for people, and they tell me many of the problems they have, now I can actually help them to really solve them. I can usually find out where they originate from some ancestor, or find out the origin, and maybe through condition they can be helped, but through eating as well. So if you do have a reading from me, or suggestions, you may get a diet plan too. Yeah, to help. Because then I know it would definitely help. Sorry, questions? Hello.
I read that the brain needs glucose for the function.
That's right.
I read it.
Yeah.
So where does the brain get the glucose from if we don't eat glucose?
Yeah, it gets it from the liver. The liver produces glucose if it needs it. Oh, yeah. Not every part of your body can live off fat. So it produces it, but you don't need to feed yourself glucose. It actually has it within the body itself. Okay? Yeah. Mm. The problem with, you will find, the problem with many practitioners or dietitians or nutritionists, they're living with old science. These are because people are literally sick who test it on themselves and they get healed. So many of the scientific research in the past is out of date now. And if a doctor would recommend this way of eating to you, he could be struck off. He wouldn't be allowed to work. And same as the nutritionists. Many of them are taking data and information, but it's not revised. You know? So if you ask that person to prove it, they probably can't prove it. This is just what they learn. And it's just interesting. So I can't say any more about that. But this is usually the problem. There is no science to back up any of the claims that eating this way is actually bad. And even the Heart Association are slowly beginning to change their view, where eating fat is okay. Whereas before they condemned it. Yeah. And also eating meat caused cancer. It doesn't cause cancer. People have been eating for about 10 years exclusively only meat, nothing else. Meat, salt, and water. They chose to do that. And they're absolutely fit and well. And all their readings are perfect. And all of their problems have gone. Is crazy. I mean, I agree with you. It's crazy. Why would that? But because it's never been proven, science has to really be tested and rewritten. There was another case where they had two large groups, and they fed carbohydrate meals, normal kind of meals, this one, and only meat, whatever meat they wanted, meat and eggs, just the animal kingdom, that one. And so this one was supposed to get lots of constipation, not be able to go to the toilet very well, blocked up. And this one should go very well because there's lots of fiber, lots of carbohydrate. This one went to the toilet about every 4 days, totally bloated. This one every day, regular, no problem. And all the stomach, all the gas disappeared. So that science is wrong. The old science is wrong. Yeah,
How do we manage with the fact that how it's produced today? So
yeah.
we are not like in the past.
Of course, yeah. Yeah. That's true. How it's looked on, because of course, if this science idea became rewritten to include these kind of diets I'm talking about, then of course, the way meat will be produced will be very different. But it's better to eat like cheaper meat, when you go to the supermarket and you just say you buy beef or pork, you can buy very expensive beef or very cheap beef. It's better to buy the cheap beef rather than to eat a burger. It's like the alternatives. Even though it's not perfect, people still get the same results. Even though there's lots of injections put into animals, it's still hormones. It's still better at the moment to eat that way. You will still feel benefit rather than eating carbohydrate. And it's another one, I mean, I'm always saying very interesting because it's incredibly interesting, this. They realize you don't actually need at all to eat any vegetables. And it's proven. They proved it. Not the official science. They always say you have a balance. Also fruit. You don't need fruit either. Yeah.
Why did God create vegetables and fruit?
Yeah, why? I think it's because many people in different parts of the world, yeah, I'm not saying you don't have to eat it, or you can still eat it, but you don't have to eat it. This is the point. You could just exclusively live on meat and thrive absolutely perfectly well. But if you want to have variety, that's fine. Some people can tolerate. In the north, in the south, in certain regions, meat's more available, whereas in certain tropical countries, fruit's more available. Like in Japan, they eat a lot of rice, but they don't get fat on rice. So that's carbohydrate. But certain peoples do have incredibly, they're affected very, very much by carbohydrate. But not everybody. You know, this diet I'm talking about, or this way of eating, is for people who have chronic problems here. So people who feel quite healthy, quite fit, you just carry on eating the way you want to eat. But the problem these sicknesses have is that doctors don't have a cure for them. They don't know. And so when these are starting to become healed, it's almost like a miracle. There's no drug that can actually solve it. These are deteriorating illnesses. And this is the revolutionary part, how something can actually work. Okay. Yeah. Yes, from the animal. Milk, if you can tolerate it, is okay. You know, you will learn about all this anyway. I'm not really a dietitian, but usually many people who drink milk, they get colds very quickly. You know, like the flus and runny nose. There's many cheeses which are like more hard cheese, and it doesn't have any carbohydrate in it at all. And cream, as I explained, very thick cream, has also no carbohydrate. You know, but carbohydrate is milk all got sugar in it. And so if you're okay with that and you feel quite healthy, then carry on. There's no problem. I don't think this diet isn't suited to everyone. It's just for chronically sick people. Or if you're struggling with really problems with the mind, you know, and you don't want to just keep taking tablets all the time to calm you down, because it's not getting to the root source. You want to be a happy person. I think one of the reasons why eating meat can actually exclusively, because it's so dense in its vitamins and minerals, that when you eat meat, your testosterone goes up in men, and also your, what's the other one for women? Estrogen. The estrogen goes up in women when they exclusively eat meat. And that means you become more masculine, right? And the woman becomes more feminine, but also your hormones are stronger, which pushes your mood right up high. So you lose your depression as well. This is how it works, I think. So a lot of the mood swings and the depressions disappear because you become happier. You become much more normal, more balanced. Huh? Aju. Yeah, aju for men and for women. Because as women get older, they actually have a lot more testosterone in them. And so their mood goes down. So when you eat, this is when you eat carbohydrate. Also, soy, tofu, It's no good. It's got female hormones in it. And so if you have it for men, you're on a downer, really. Yeah. But we eat, there's so much in society thinking that's the protein. All the protein in the vegetables is the wrong kind of protein. Your body isn't designed, our bodies aren't designed to actually utilize vegetables. Yeah, our tract, our what's it called? Our gut is too short. Whereas you take a cow, it's got 5 stomachs. If you take a gorilla, it's got a very long torso. Everything's bigger for people that eat, these animals that eat things like that. But man is mainly designed to eat meat because it's very short and very intense. And anyway, you have to prove it yourself. You don't have to believe anything I'm saying, but these podcasts will help. Let me just, was there any more questions? So I just want to pop to the last bit now. Good. Oh, good. Right. This, it was just like more of a future outlook, how I see our movement and how it will kind of, in a way, influence things. Our community and its future outlook. Our movement will continue to be a strong community, solid, reliable, safe, that focuses on strong family values. That people who are searching for these values will reach out to and embrace. As the future continues to unfold in this chaotic, confusing world, which will continue on this path for several years after 2020, I'm afraid, it's good to keep in good contact with each other. And that's what we were doing today. We were kind of looking at what's happening in the different regions, different countries, to feel that harmony, that unity as a family. Because if the world does get warmer, or if the climate does become really unmanageable, God will guide us in some way. It may work through one person or a few people to help us know how and where to go. So we need to really keep well together here. Yeah. Keep in contact. Allow each member, blessed ancestors, to continue to protect and guide each one of us. The more we're connected to a community, the easier it is for our blessed ancestors to blend and harmonize with us, because we are focusing on something more than ourselves, which allows the blessed ancestors who also want to focus on more. So don't isolate yourself. Don't isolate yourself. It's good to come together. World governments seem to show no concern at all for the direction of our civilization is heading, which is why our movement in family values and standard is so needed in this time. People will begin, after a while, to actually reach out to us, to come to us, not because of the religion or the teaching. It would be because we're the only sane people out there that deal with family values. Everybody else will be completely corrupted. And they're trying to get rid of gender. They're trying to destroy the family. They're having no future ideals. So people will just say, oh, I heard you believe in the ideal of the family. Well, I'll be on your side, and they would just join. Don't matter what we teach. It's normal life. So as the world becomes more and more extreme, misguided with the relationships between men and women and the values and meanings of what a true family and its values being eroded and ultimately destroyed, which is what the feminism's trying to do, destroy the whole concept of the family, destroy the importance of our movement, which is why it is so needed in this time. As world confusion, chaos, and misguided information speeds up, the general public will desperately reach out for sanity and reason in order to find value and purpose in their lives towards true family values, which is why our movement appeared in this time in history, and that's why true parents are the gender masculine and feminine, not just one gender, because it represents the family idea, the family value. Why our movement appears in this time in history as being a guide and example for those values. True Father, having achieved a successful foundation day and has taught his victory, has been able to open all the gates to heaven and create the Chonuguk realm where blessed couples are able to dwell, has also opened all the gates to the spirit world, meaning that all the highest level spirit bodies are able to descend to earth and through spiritually prepared people, plus us as blessed couples and members will be guided to formulate change in our society through the overall guidance of course, True Mother, who is totally united with True Father, working together with her from the spirit world. Unfortunately, because of the spiritual gates have been opened, means that all the influences from the negative realms have also total freedom to descend to earth and enter and occupy all people on the earth who have a base to receive them, which means that unless people have some liberated ancestors that will act as a spiritual block, negative spirits can easily influence them. So, at this time in history, the earth has the highest and lowest spiritual level influences living among us, which is the reason and the purpose for providential push to liberate and bless our ancestors in this time. This is because they will act as a spiritual wall that will form around each of us individually and as couples and families that will prevent us from being swept away by the confusion and chaos we are now experiencing, which will only increase until a certain point, then it will level off again. But you'd be surprised, if you don't have blessed ancestors, you get really influenced very easily. You'd really be surprised what you will believe if you haven't got any protection. As a moment we need to stick to movement, we need to stick together as individual couples and families so as to protect each other from such intense negative influences. Like if you find that somebody's younger child is being influenced by, say, the lesbian and gay idea, then you need to stand together with that couple and go together with them. We need to support each other here. There was a very like verbal, very strong minority that's dominating everything. And at the moment, it's like when you walk through, if you can imagine this, you walk through the city and you see everybody doing things like they do, yeah? And now in this time, just say 20 years ago, you walk through the city, everybody's just doing the same. Now in this time now, you walk through the city and you find everything's exactly the same as what you remember, yeah? From 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But underneath, everything's changed. It's being influenced. There's a silent influence that's dominating everything, and you do not notice. You don't notice unless you're interested, yeah? Like I'm telling you these things. Maybe a lot of you didn't even know this is actually happening now, yeah? Because sometimes we're a little bit not aware of things. So the silent majority are beginning to realize they're being taken for a ride. And they're seeing a few of these little organizations destroying everyone's situation. They're so worried, many of these families, because their children have no future. They're afraid to approach girls. You can't have a boyfriend, girlfriend. There's just all this fear. Incredible. Yes, amazing. I've never seen such stuff. But unless you've got your eyes open and are aware of it, you will find one day you can do this. In 2 days' time, you find there's a law. You cannot do that. But we could have protested, but we didn't realize. And so many of the majority, the silent majority of people, are walking into these things not knowing, and then realize they can't do nothing about it because it's law, physical law. You cannot do. So we have to be very, very careful. As a movement, we need to stick firmly together, whose purpose is completely destroy, you see, as individuals, couples and families, so as to protect each other from such intense negative influences, whose purpose is to completely destroy blessed couples and family values, keeping people separated, ignorant and confused. You might find lots of these kind of rumors or weird things, just as an example about Chompion, okay? You don't need to think they're real, because the negative spirit world have been trying to destroy that place ever since it's been built. Because how can you not let that place live? That you're actually killing them all the negative spirits. We go there, or we liberate, we bless, we remove resentful spirits, we restore them. Do you think the negative spirits are just going to sit down and say, oh, okay then, destroy all my negative friends here? They're going to really try to, destroy that place. But our ancestors depend on it. It's the only place, except for these, is a mobile one now, but within these situations, it's the only place that our ancestors depend on and can grow and be liberated. So do you think they're going to go down easy? No. So don't listen to all the rubbish that anybody says about our movement. We have to connect to God vertically. We don't worship true parents. He's our guide. They're our guide. We need to connect to God. When True Mother was in Vienna a few years ago, she had to tell members this. She said, you don't connect to me. I'm the leader. Father is like the leader. He showed us how to get to God. He didn't show us how to get to him. He's showing us how to get to God. So she said, don't treat us like an icon, because also Hyunjinim, I think, and the other ones were causing lots of trouble. And she said, don't follow these people. You've got to make your own connection. We pray in our own name. We have our own energy. Don't listen to people. It could be a child down by the bus stop just decides to say, oh, this movement, Daimonim, she's like this, like that. I suddenly get members writing to me and say, oh, have you heard? Have you seen this? Do you think this is true? I say, my God, I said, you're an adult, You're connected to God. Just throw that away. You don't believe everything you're told, it's nonsense. So we have to know who we are. Even Father said, if you realized I wasn't the Messiah, would you still follow me? He said, you'd still be connecting to God and just keep going. If he makes a mistake, he's down with us. He's down in the lower realm. So same with True Mother. We have to absolutely be like rocks in the sea, totally supporting family values. And then general people will rely on us. They will come, they will join us. Yeah? So let's see. This means that negative spirits can easily manipulate and use people, keeping them in a state of meaninglessness, having no other purpose than to spiritually feed the negative spirits, their goal being to eventually wipe God and his family values from the face of the earth. Unity as loving couples and families is our strength. Through regular meetings together and reaching out to others will allow people to see that there is a place of sanity that they can turn to, that gives strong values and guidance to the meaning of the family and purpose of the existence of the family. Our movement being a global movement, we must remember to keep a world view on our movement, which is what we've been doing today. So that's great. It's always good to have these things, yeah. Many different successes and breakthrough activities taking place on many different levels. So such as government, clerical, and all these other ones. We know all about this. This was also a talk I can give for people who aren't so strongly connected to our movement. So it helps them to realize how they should connect more. As we persevere, then over time, success and global change will emerge out of the chaos to reveal a spiritual, bright reality and future of our entire civilization. Finish. I think I missed a bit out there. I thought, well, okay. Anyway, these are just my thoughts. These are just my thoughts for the day, through what I've heard from other people and the struggle I'm always being confronted with because I'm answering people's questions and everything. This is why I'm so into this eating style, because if so many people are having these kind of results, we can use this in our own movement here. and I can add it to the readings. So just experiment with it, have a try. It was only a suggestion. Don't throw me out yet. Okay, thank you. Great, great. Oh, I knew.
Can you name a few books?
Oh, if you go on these, they advertise loads of books, really. There's many people that have written about it, and you will be inundated with ketogenic and carnivore ideas, and there's many books there.
I'm not necessarily talking about fish and chips.
No. These aren't fish and chips.
Talking about books about negative spirit world, how to overcome.
Oh my gosh. If you all you need to type in on the YouTube or on the normal is negative spirit world and books on how to recognize it and also how to combat or overcome. I knew there would be so many people that have had experiences. And they're all basically right and in how they overcome it. But liberation and blessing is a major key because their method of doing things don't get rid of anything negative. It just exchanges something, or energy is exchanged. So eventually the person will continue to have problems. But liberation and blessing is where the negativity is literally taken away and transformed and made into blessed ancestors themselves. So you will get a lot of information, but it won't be as strongly realistic as the principle. All these people that write these books need to understand principle more. Yeah. Good. Oh. Oh, simple one. That's good. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
So if I eat the burger without the meat, what is better?
You can't eat a burger without the meat.
I mean the bread and the vegetable?
No. Yes. Sure. If you only eat carbohydrate but no fat and no meat, you probably won't gain weight. Your sugar will become a bit balanced, but you don't have all the right vitamins and minerals. So you can keep a healthy, but you won't have the same density of value. Yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah.
Then is it still better to eat no meat at that point? Or I take the compromise and eat both, it's still better than just the meat? This is my question.
No.
You said just the meat is the best. Okay.
Well, if for this particular way of eating as a ketogenic and carnivore, generally you can eat maybe 10 grams of carbohydrate and maybe 30, 40, 50 grams of meat, but this is more shown on the diet, and then the fat with it. But if you eat grains and gluten and rice, all these kind of things together with it, it creates a problem for the body. It doesn't know which one to work with. So it works with the most dangerous one first, which is the glucose, which is the carbohydrate. It has to get rid of that quick. But then it locks all the fat, which you're eating together with it, into the cells. So you gain weight very quickly. So if you don't eat the bun, the bread with the meat, then you're not going to store the fat in your body. You will, because protein, you don't get energy so much from the protein. You actually get it from the fat of the meat. And when you eat carbohydrate or bread, you're actually searching for fat in the food. And this is why if your food doesn't have much fat in there, you never feel as if you can stop eating until you feel full. And so when you get enough fat from the food, then your body starts to feel, okay, I feel full now. But you're literally really bloated because how much fat is in, you know, many things like bread? Only small amounts, you know? Sorry, I hope I answered something for you. Yeah. I'm sorry? No, because it's protein and glucose. Yeah, this is the point. Many people don't know what carbohydrate means. Of course, I mean, we know what it means, but how many food it covers, you know? People say, oh, carbohydrates, yeah, I mean, I'll cut out all my sugar. You know, my sweets, my Coca-Cola, all my drinks. But what they don't realize is all the vegetables growing under the ground are packed full of sugar. But that's carrots, potatoes, they're all glucose. Yeah. And the stuff growing above ground is more lighter, so is a lower glycemic index. Yeah. And so, yeah, rice, pasta, well, you name it, and it's that. So your body takes time to get used to it. You have to, if you started today, you may find that your body starts to become confused now because there's no glucose. You're not eating any glucose. So it panics. It begins to panic. Yeah? But you eat fat. And so it thinks the body, oh, this fat, where did that come from? I've never had this kind of fat before. So you rush to the toilet and woof, it's gone. Yeah, because the body has to get rid of something, thinking it's dangerous. But then it's waiting for the glucose. Nothing's coming. So you start to feel as if like you're going crazy. And they call this a keto flu, is where there's like confusion in your body. And then you still feed yourself with the meat and the fat. And then over about 3 or 4 days, your body starts to think, wait a minute. Actually, I'm not getting any glucose anymore. This guy above doesn't feed me this. So what else is there to survive here? And so it would say, this fat's coming through. This fat's coming down through the shaft here. Yeah, that must be the source. So I'll eat that. And when it starts to tap into that, yeah, so you eat a little bit more at the beginning, yeah, like 3, 4, 5 spoons with your food to adapt your body to look for fat. But then once you feel after a while that your body starts to know that it should eat fat, you find that your hunger disappears. That's how you know you've adapted to eating fat. Yeah? And then if you wanted to lose weight, all you need to do is reduce the amount of fat you're eating. So you don't eat any more butter with your meat, just a little bit of fat in the meat. And then it will start to eat your own fat. So don't feed yourself fat, lest the body will say, well, I don't need to eat this because I got all this coming in to the body. Yeah? So as you start to want to lose weight, you just reduce what you're eating of the fat, and then it starts to use the fat on your body. And you will find you may only eat 1 meal a day. And so the rule, or the ideal, is to eat yourself until you're satisfied full, but don't eat until you're hungry. Don't use a routine. Just don't eat until you're hungry. These rules of eating, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and tea, were created by the Victorians. Before that, nobody ate like that. Peasants never ate like that. They just ate when they had the food and when they were hungry. We have to eat when we're hungry. We're programmed to eat meals. You don't need to eat, you don't need them. But if you eat a normal diet, you're starving so quickly because glucose burns out so quick. Yeah? The difference between burning glucose and fat is if there was a little fire here, yeah? Glucose is like taking a lot of leaves and then go woof, and it go woof, like this. But if you take the fat, it's like a log, a big piece of wood, and you put it on the fire, and it burns slow for hours. That's that's the difference between the two. So you get hungry within an hour or 2, yeah, when you eat glucose. But when you eat fat, well, some people don't eat for 2 days. Fascinating. You would be very interested to hear how people experience it. But that's when your body adapts. Yeah.
Maybe one last question.
Yeah.
Grateful or
Yeah.
Even my job, work 12 hours, 11 hours, 9 hours,
Mm.
many times use energy drinks.
Mm. Packed full of sugar, too much glucose.
You're against energy drinks.
Yeah. But when you eat fat, you have energy, but you don't need to eat that kind of way. You will be able to sustain yourself for a long time.
What do you drink?
Just water or coffee. It's just no sugar. All the different herb drinks, tea. Just don't put any sugar in there. Or honey. No honey. Everything's got fructose. Yes? Yeah? Yeah? Yeah. 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 It's basically because children are using hormones in their system. So whatever they eat, usually they're pretty small, right? But meat is very good. Protein, the fat in the meat is always very good. Say a child this your age there would just have a normal ketogenic kind of meal, you know, but not to take sweets or snacks. The secret is don't snack between the meals because you don't feel hungry, but it's mainly habit in the mind. You see, these podcasts, which I put up on the board, is good for you to have a read, you know, have a look, because it also talks about how children can benefit from these kind of things. Or if you type in child-friendly food, ketogenic or child-friendly ketogenic food, or carnivore food, and it would give you all these suggestions. But usually children get this ADHD, this especially the boys, and it will calm them down. And so cravings disappear when young children eat this way because they're not craving sugar. Because once you get that craving, desire, a craving means you get pushed. It's like a desire. I must have. That affects everything. It affects also, as I said, addictions. You must have. You can only think of that. And so once that craving's disappeared, it affects so many other mental difficulties. So one of the struggles eating this way, I must tell everyone, is socially. Very difficult. Yeah. Everybody I talk, they say, "Oh, what do you eat?" Yeah, well, you were very good. Yeah. What do you eat? I said, I eat meat and some eggs. And they say, oh, right. What else do you eat? No, that is it, meat and eggs. And for breakfast? That's it, meat and eggs. And so, because it's so ingrained that you should eat cereal or milk or porridge, or it's all glucose, you see. But I don't do that. And so I had my meal yesterday, lunchtime, and I just had a very small one this morning. But if I would have missed it this morning, I wouldn't have had a problem. I would have just had something lunchtime. I don't have cravings because meat shuts off this ghrelin. There's a hormone which is a craving mechanism, and it switches it off. And so when I look at sweet things, I have no feeling for it at all. It's fascinating for me because I was a chocolate fanatic. No desire for it at all. So where did that go? And it happened very, very quick, within about a few days. Just suddenly I felt not hungry. And usually if you miss a meal, because I don't usually eat breakfast, just eat lunchtime, and that's it, till the next lunchtime the next day. Don't miss it at all. Fascinating for me. This is why I'm talking so much about it, because I can't believe it works, and it does. And many try it. They say, oh, I've got this kind of sickness, I'm starting to lose my memory, so I'm going to take this coconut oil, and I'm going to do what they tell me. I don't believe it's going to work. And then they find it starts working, because there's no proof it should work, only other people's proofs that they've all been successful. So they say, what have I got to lose? It's only food. I'm not taking drugs, just taking food. So if you struggle really with chronic or big problems with memory or any of these things, or you're a worrier, you're somebody who worries a lot about life, eat this way, and you'll find in a few days you will feel there's something happening. And if you do, continue. Yeah. And if you're looking to lose some weight, do it and do. You just choose meat you can eat. You know, anything else you can eat, except for what doctors maybe recommend. Although I bet you 10 to 1, if you ate the meat the doctor said you shouldn't eat, you will probably actually still benefit, because they've got no proof it does cause a problem. Maybe try the meat even just for a short time, 2-3 days, see if any impact, see what happens. Doctors are so surprised. They say, my gosh, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. But don't tell me what you're doing. Yeah, because I can't accept it. Yeah. I'm sorry?
The question is about organic rice or organic bread. The Vollkorn is
Yeah. Yeah.
like beans and peas and
Well, it basically turns a lot to sugar. If there's something that has no carbohydrate in it, then eat it. But if not, don't try. Yeah, you think it's digest more slowly, but the problem is that that's causing the sickness. So all you're doing is slowing your sickness down a little, but we're trying to get rid of sicknesses. You see, most of these refined things, like gluten-free, all these things, they're actually more refined in 20 years ago. That's why they can be sold as something more healthy. But so much of it doesn't work. What best thing solution is to try, if you were wanting to experiment, to try just eating the meat, you know, and the eggs and the dairy, the things from the animal kingdom. And then if you feel great, if you feel okay, just add some bread and see what happens. You will notice it straight away. If you're suddenly I still start to feel fuzzy and I can't concentrate, you know what you put in. So keep a record of what you're eating, and then you can always add or take away something. So I'm not saying everything's bad, but it affects people in so many ways. All right? Onions have got a lot of sugar, but you can eat a small amount of them. This will give a lot of detail on these podcasts, you know. As I said, I'm not a dietitian. But if you just type in all the best food, the best vegetables, the best fruit, if any, for a ketogenic diet, and they come up with a list, because they are scientifically measured to know the protein and what you would need to still keep carnivore or ketogenic. So it's very simple. Yes, sir. What else? You can eat everything from the animal kingdom, which is fish, eggs, chicken. What me personally? Yeah, I eat eggs. Yes, yeah. So I can eat any kind of meat, but I had sausage. You fry it. You fry. What did you say? Oh, no, you can put these things on if you want. You can put salt, pepper, garlic, turmeric. You can put all these things. That doesn't do so much for anything else. I can. It's fascinating because sometimes I eat a lot of pork, all right? So my meal might be a pound of meat, all right? Just one, or 3/4 of a pound of meat, because I'm not a very big eater, and maybe 6 or 7 eggs in one meal. You can eat up to 12 eggs a day, and you won't get problems. No, it's not. Even science proves this now. Many of the myths in the past show that it was guesswork. They assumed because there was cholesterol in an egg, you only ate 1 or 2 a day, or 1 or 2 a week. But actually, you can eat a load. And people have been eating this way for years, and they're not sick at all. Perfect readings. It baffles science. It has to be rewritten. This is why I'm talking about it here, because it's a part of the last days. The whole science has to be rewritten. There was no proof, no scientific proof that eggs cause cholesterol problems. It was just assumed. Just someone had a bright idea and said, oh, eggs, cholesterol, so it causes problems in the arteries, in the body. So let's limit. Let's make a law, 2 or 3, that's it. But nobody proved it. If you show me where somebody's done that and it's proven to be wrong. And people have eaten loads of eggs, especially farmers, they eat loads of stuff. Yeah? So I eat quite a lot of meat, a lot of eggs, and maybe just 1 meal a day. And then other days I might eat a different kind of meat. But because I'm not hungry, I don't crave for anything. This is the key. I don't feel, oh my God, I got to eat meat again. Yeah? When the time comes, I'm fantastic. It tastes great. And you crave fat. It's wonderful. Yeah.
You are a spiritual person, obviously.
I am, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Yeah. I didn't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing, but somehow.
So it is known that when you eat vegetables, when you are vegetarian, when you eat, you become more also spiritually open.
Yeah.
Meat is something that
Keeps you grounded. Yeah.
So since you eat this diet of meat now,
Yeah.
you yourself more close enough?
No, what I feel is spiritually very balanced, which means I'm very grounded, but I'm still spiritually open. That's what wasn't proven. You see, and if you eat lots of carbohydrate in vegetables, you become open, but at the same time you become sick. And that's why you're open somehow, because you let everything in. Whereas I feel closed now. I feel totally closed, solid, like a piece of wood. But I could go into anybody's spirit here, so I can completely open spiritually. But I can control it now. I couldn't control it when I was eating sugar. Yeah. Yeah, because in a way the diet was controlling me. Now I'm controlling me. Very interesting, but these are all discoveries. There's no science to prove this, I'm proving it. And so you eat it and you prove it to yourself. That's the key. All right? I feel like a preacher here. Amazing. Okay.
Es würde jetzt das Ende unseres Gottesdienstes. Singen wir noch ein Lied. Let's sing one song together. Yeah, and right after Sunday service, people can come to you in the other room. Yeah?
That's right.
Gleich nach dem Gottesdienst kann man den Philipp treffen im Habi-Zimmer. Wir müssen eine Liste machen.
If you'd like to, well, basically what he said, I'm just saying in English. If you'd like to have that scan, you can extra. If anybody has written information which they said they wanted me to have today, then just hand it to me and that's fine. But I'll set it up next door like it was yesterday for anybody that would like to have one. You may not know what it means if you're new and you haven't been here yesterday, but I'll have to explain it when I do it for you. It basically shows the energy in your spirit, and you get this by email. I'll send it to you. So it's long understanding of what's about your character. You have to come on trust, I'm afraid.
Okay, ich spreche ein Gebet. Liebe himmlischen Eltern, vielen Dank für die vergangene Woche. Vielen Dank für deine Liebe, für deine Führung, die wir erhalten haben. Vielen Dank auch für diesen Gottesdienst, für diesen ungewöhnlichen Gottesdienst und für den Workshop. Vielen Dank für das, was wir bekommen haben von Philipp Hill. Und wir beten, dass du ihn weiterhin segnen und führen kannst und dass wir die Chongpyong Providence gut weiterführen können. Wir beten um deinen Schutz und Segen für jeden Einzelnen und wir senden liebe Grüße und Energie zur wahren Mutter nach Las Vegas, die gerade dort Veranstaltungen hat, und wir wünschen auch viel Schutz und Segen nach Berlin zur Konferenz dort und beten, dass du mit jedem von uns sein kannst in der kommenden Woche. Das beten wir zusammen in unserem eigenen Namen als zentral gesegnete Familien. Adieu. Dann singen wir noch Tongil und das beschließt unseren Gottesdienst.
Hi, we are here from Germany and we want to see the reunification of South Korea and North Korea.
Workshop. Let's give a big hand. Und diese persönlichen Sessions im Arbeitszimmer. Und die Annette sitzt vor der Tür und wird dann passieren. Und die Familie, ja. Und ja, die Familie Kaiser hat